May the 28th, just after 6 p.m., Ina Arnall was seen at her local grocery store. She paid for her items and an employee helped her to her car. Ina was headed home to cook dinner for herself and husband Henry. That was the last time Ina would be seen. The next day, her car was found, abandoned at the Tulsa airport. There was no sign of struggle and no trace of Ina. Almost 4 decades have passed, and Ina Arnall is still missing.
My name is Patty Rush, and I'm one of the founders of Revamp, Remember Every Victim and Missing Person in the U.S. So a few years ago, I was fostering dogs, and a lady came to adopt a dog, and she told me that a woman that she had worked for had gone missing and that she would like for us to look into the case.
I came by the office and dropped my stuff off because it was a weekend, and I remember Ina was there. And my office, there was, like she said, there was 2 halls, and my office was in the middle of the halls, about halfway down through the office. I just remember that she came by, and they were in the office, and I knew they were getting loud, but I couldn't understand them. And so I got my stuff, and I went out the hall up the other side and out and left. But I do know that Sue Ann called me Monday morning early, and she said, "Have you seen or talked to my mom?" And I said, "No, I haven't seen her." And she said, "Well, she wasn't home all weekend."
Me and the executive director were in Poteau one day, and I said, there's a case here in Poteau, Oklahoma, that I would like to look into. It was the Ina Arnall case. This happened in May of '81, and in May of '81, there was no DNA. They did things differently than they do today. We decided to start from the very beginning. So we went back and interviewed people. We've been given several tips by local people. They still seem to be a little bit hesitant to talk. Right now, what we want to do is we want to find Ina.
She could be everybody's mom, honestly. Kind of your typical all-American mom. I mean, boy, she headed up Bible school. She taught Bible school. She taught Sunday school. And she, made our clothes for us if we wanted her to. She was just, she was kind of like the all-American mom who protected her children. Maybe that's a good word, just a good way to say that too. She protected all 3 of us from our dad, probably in more ways than we'll ever know. There were 2 sides to him. There was a public side and there was a home side. Our dad was a very controlling type of person, very controlling.
Okay, so this property used to belong to Ina's husband. So at the time, there was a strip pit here that ran from the Holiday Inn across somewhere around the bank and across this new bypass and over to the Walmart parking lot. We had the search and rescue dogs from Texar here, and they didn't hit on anything. But when you look at that hill and you think the strip pit was 12 to 15 foot deep, and you look at that hill, you're talking 30 foot probably that's been built up, so you're talking 42 to 45 feet. Cadaver dogs probably would not pick up on that. One of the tips that we got was that she was in the Walmart parking lot, and I'm going to take you there next. But we've had dogs all over this place. We've had tips that she was buried where the Holiday Inn is. At the time in 1981, there was an office here and a house. It was an A-frame type house, and Susie sold mobile homes from that house. Susie was the next wife of Henry after Ina went missing. This was the property that they owned, and it went all the way over to the sheriff's property. Ray Kirkland, he lived not too far from here, and the strip pit went all the way over to his property. Somebody that worked for Henry said that she was going home in the Shady Point area and that she met Henry and Ina a little after 5, and Ina was slumped over in the passenger seat. But what caught my attention is it said blue Buick. Well, I knew that she did not own a blue Buick. She owned a brown Oldsmobile. And so that caught my attention. And all through the case file, it kept saying blue Buick. And she did not own a blue Buick. Now, if you're looking for a victim, a missing person, I would think that having the car correct would be very important. Very important. Also, she said that she had hired a private investigator out of Fort Smith. Henry, the husband, said that he had talked to that private investigator, and the private investigator told him that he was not having an affair, even though that was not true, and that there was no reason to be worried. That private investigator, who they're talking about, I'm not sure he was actually a licensed private investigator, went on to own a huge football team. And he had an office in Fort Smith, and he was a good friend of the missing person.
Well, anyway, this is another place that she could have been put. And this would kind of match up with what we were told by an employee of Henry's, that they saw him coming this way. The blue Buick kind of throws me because it wasn't a blue Buick, it was a brown Oldsmobile. So it makes perfect sense if they were seen coming this way. The only thing I can't make sense of is why it said a blue Buick when she was in a brown Oldsmobile.
Yeah.
But now the girlfriend had a blue Buick supposedly.
I was the first one. I mean, from the get-go. And one of my friends will remind me, Debbie, you said from the very beginning, I think my dad had something to do with this. He didn't like you to go up against him. And that really caused a rift between he and I after he married the woman that he was having an affair with, because as I told him, Dad, you raised us to be a certain way, and you told us our name was everything, and you have literally destroyed our name and gone against everything that you told us how we should live our lives. I saw her that Christmas time at a Christmas party that my dad had for all of his employees that I planned for him. He asked me to plan it up here, and that was the first time I met her. And I can remember my husband came with us, and he said, that woman over there is staring a hole through us. Who is she? Well, guess who it was?
So this is a chemical that is supposed to pick up decomposition, the chemicals that decomposition puts off. And we were hooked up by the Polyclass Foundation. A man that works for the Polyclass Foundation got me in touch with the company that makes this chemical. There's a process. It's just a resource, a tool. It's a lot like cadaver dogs, but it will give us a confirmation that the cadaver dogs are correct or not correct. So what we did is yesterday, we went out to the site where we were told that Ina Arnall was, and we took soil samples.
I think if it turns up positive, it will tell us that she is either there or was there. The guy told me before I got ordered the chemicals that eventually I will be able to tell from the colors whether I'm on ground zero or not on ground zero, or if there is decomposition there or not decomposition there. It's been kind of a trial and error, and it's just a tool, a resource, you know. So if it turns up negative, it'll just stay brown, and then within an hour it will turn. Now we just did a site where a girl was found, but it was down by a creek, and it has flooded a lot since then. But it turned orange, bright orange, from the decomposition. Everywhere else we tested did not. Now, since that time, I've gotten a tip in that could be a red herring over there. And we have done an excavation. OSBI did an excavation. They did not find Ina in that location. So the tip could be right. It could be a red herring. However, if you take a body out and just leave it for maybe a day, or not even that, you can just leave it for a couple hours, it has already started decomposition, and those chemicals will be in the ground. Dawned on me.
What?
You know the bank that I'm a little suspicious of?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Do you realize that there's a branch over there with a train track, a train car?
No, I didn't.
Right there?
Oh, yeah.
Sure is.
Sure is.
So that strip pit supposedly ran all the way through here over to Kirkland's house. And I'm going to show you where Mr. Monks, he was 90-something years old when we interviewed him. He said that his whole life, since Ina went missing, that he was told that she was buried here in the Walmart parking lot. I don't know. I wish I'd have known they were digging. I would have been out here. Anyway, that pit supposedly went right through here. In 1981, this is where Henry's office was, and yeah, I mean, he had several women that worked for him. He had quite a business. You know, he was in the oil and gas lease business, and that's where he made his money. And he had an abstract company. He was into a lot of stuff. Plus, he sold trailer houses, and you name it, he did it. We just got gas, and a man said that he knew of Henry, and Henry was not someone you would mess with at all. He said he could be a nice guy, but you did not want to cross him. So this was the grocery store. Supposedly she went to the grocery store after she left Henry's office, which is the pink building now. She went in there and bought some groceries. The owner of the store wrote a statement that he had talked to her and maybe he had taken the groceries out for her. Now, according to one witness, they had got into an argument when she came back from Tulsa. She stopped at his office there north of town, and that they had gotten into an argument. Now, this is the story that the witness tells, is that they had gotten into an argument because Henry wanted to go to this restaurant, which was really close to his office, and have dinner, and he had already had plans to do that. Ina just wanted to go home and fix dinner. Ina came to the grocery store, and then that was the last time she was really ever seen, was when she left the grocery store. So the groceries were never found, but there's a statement from the owner of the grocery store that he did see her that day, that she did buy groceries, and he believed that he carried them out, put them in her trunk or in her car. So that's why I'm saying if she got to Poteau around 5:15 in the afternoon, and then she went and bought groceries, I'm going to say that it took at least 30 minutes to buy groceries, at least. I don't know what kind of groceries she bought. I don't know how many she bought. I don't know what she bought. But she left the grocery store supposedly and then was going home to cook dinner. Never made it. So I do think that that's probably the last place that she was seen alive, was the grocery store. And that's where we just left. Now, there's another piece of property. At the time, let me go back to this piece of property. At the time, the victim that's missing, her and her husband owned this piece of property. And so that's why everybody thinks that she was there. It was very close in proximity to where her and her husband lived at the time. And so it just made sense. They also, in 2015, they found 2 shovels and a Dr. Pepper can. That the Dr. Pepper can, the coating on the Dr. Pepper can was tracked back to the time that she went missing. So because they found the 2 shovels in the Dr. Pepper can, they went ahead and did the excavation. However, the son and I, back last January, it's been almost a year ago, we tried to dig with shovels in the very same spot, and it was almost impossible, because there's so many roots. And there's one thing I have learned, that the son, he knows all these properties like the back of his hand. And he's looked for his mom for coming on 44 years. I can't imagine what it's like to not know where your mother's at and just want to bring her home. They believe that their father did kill her. It's believed that it was an accident, but yet he chose to hide her body rather than probably her. She was already in a lot of trouble. So, and he had a mistress, and my understanding is the argument may have been over the fact that he had a mistress. Her car was found in Tulsa the following day by her daughter at the urging of Henry, her husband. He said, "Why don't you go and check at the airport for your mother's car?" Sure enough, Ina's car was found at the Tulsa airport.
In a quarter mile,
So they find her car at the airport. It had a little bit of dirt on it. She was a very immaculate person. She was a very small person, and the seat was scooted all the way back. So they think that someone else drove the car. Very coincidental that there was about 15 minutes security cameras at the Tulsa airport did not pick up. They were down.
Back up to a year previously, when I came home for Christmas, there had been a rift between my mother and father, and Dad was blaming on Mom was blaming on Dad. The rift had started because at a party, at his office party, he had these really nice floral arrangements. Seems like they are something that you could take home and keep. And they were like, he gave them to the women. Well, Mom had wanted a certain one, and Dad told her no, that Susie had wanted that, and he told her she could have it. So then back up, say, 6 months previously to, I think it was June of 1980, and my dad was at an oil convention, an oil man convention there. And so my cousin and her family stayed somewhere else, and I stayed in the room with my dad. Well, my mom had stayed behind because my sister was going through divorce. I mean, she was helping her, I don't know, do stuff you have to do after you get a divorce. So the phone rings the first morning while I'm there because Dad had gone down to meetings, and I answered the phone, and this woman says, "Who is this?" Mm-mm. And I said, "Mom, this is Debbie." Well, that was my first clue that there's something not right. I mean, I could tell things were tense between Mom and Dad when I was home, when I was around them. It was like, it was not a relationship that I would ever want to be in with anybody. I was not going to let anybody boss me around the way he bossed her around.
We took 6 soil samples, so we're going to do that test. If we get results, then the police department that's over that case will have to go back out and get soil samples. We'll have to do it in front of them. But this will give us an idea. So what you do, let's start with A. Got a little bit of dirt. We're going to take the cap off. I should have opened this up. It says about 5 drops of this chemical, which that's a little more than 5 drops. Then you fill the rest of the way up with distilled water. Put the lid back on it. Shake it up. Now, if there's decomp in it, it's supposed to turn a bright color. We did do a trial run on this weekend before last, and we did get some results back on Susan Hayden gun. So we'll leave that there. That's A. I took GPS coordinates each time that we took one. So we have the GPS coordinates. It's believed that her husband killed her accidentally in an argument, a heated argument, and it is also believed that he had ties to the Dixie Mafia. Actually, we're only going to fill this one halfway up. It says at least 15 drops. The last 3 or 4 tips we've gotten has been a man who was a president of a bank that went to prison for giving loans to the Dixie Mafia. It takes about an hour to get the results. Probably 6 different sites looking for her and with no results. The only time that we have ever gotten a hit was the cadaver dogs back about a year ago on this particular spot where we did the soil samples. Our main concern is to just bring Ina home. They just want their mother brought home. We have reason to believe that she was killed before she got into the house or as she got into the house. We're not sure. We don't know where her body is, but her children have been looking for her for almost 44 years. The man, the suspect, who is thought to be responsible for Ina's death, remarried. We have reason to believe that It's possible that his wife after that, which he was having an affair with at the time, has some knowledge. I go by and see her every time I go to Poteau. She says she will help us later. That's all she ever says, is later. So we did 6 different samples, and we got negative results on all 6 of them. They would have turned colors. I showed you a text message on what it would look like if there was decomposition. We got no test results. We don't know if it's because the earth has been disturbed so much in the past or if there's such little decomposition because it's been 44 years. But we got negative results on the soil samples. Negative. But there's just not showing anything. But now, like I said, there's been 2 excavations on this property. So I don't know how much effect that would have. Plus, it's a very low area. It's not very far. It's just a few hundred yards, maybe 100 yards, 200 yards at the most from a river. So, and we do know that the property where the soil samples were taken holds a lot of water. So I don't know how much effect that has. I'm going to reach out to the man that works for Polyclass Foundation and ask him what his opinion is.
According to my aunt, who has since died, she said your dad had an affair when he was in law school, and your mom found out about it. Well, that makes sense. That's why they were arguing. That's what I remember. And he, well, she stayed with him. And my mom was probably my biggest cheerleader for college. And I had asked her if she would do my pinning for me at the ceremony. It's a special ceremony only for my fellow nursing students who were graduating with me. And she said, Debbie, I don't think I should. I think you need to ask your dad to do the pinning. She was a pretty selfless person. She was not selfish at all. She did anything and everything for us kids. And she actually would, if she knew that there was something that we had done, somebody we were seeing, and she knew he wouldn't approve of it, she would try to hide it from him. She wouldn't tell him because she was protecting us. That's what she was doing.
Henry called Ann Marchant into the office and told her that Ida had disappeared and he had not seen her. I believe is the story he told Ann Marchant. That she was just going, he hadn't seen her since she left or something to that effect. Then he called us another one in, I don't know if it was Judy, myself, or one of the other girls, and told us the same story. But while he was explaining this situation to one of us girls, we were discussing what he had said, and Ann Marchant said, she said, well, Henry, I saw you and Ina as I was coming in from Tulsa. She had been to, and they were in Ina's car. Henry was driving, and Ann Marchant said that Ina was kind of slumped over against the passenger side, kind of like she was just hugging the door type deal. We went to an oil and gas convention in Hot Springs, and the round table like this. Ina's sitting here, Henry's sitting there. I don't see Dave Muntz, Joy Muntz, Susie Arnold, Judy, me, and Peggy. And it was a banquet, and there was candlelight flickering, and this is vividly in my mind. There's candles sitting right there, and Ina is looking over at Susie, and that candlelight flickering on her face. It's something I'll never forget. She was just sitting there just looking at Susie. And we all knew what was going on. And those oil and gas institutes are always in February. So it's probably 3 months after that she disappeared.
My mom was a very forgiving person. And she believed in the power of love and the power of forgiveness through Jesus Christ. So the person, the people who did this, who know about it, she would probably want us all to forgive them. But boy, we sure would like to know. We would like to know. And I have a hard time believing that Susie does not know what happened. I really do believe that she knows.
Ina Arnall has been missing for 44 years. The family asks if you have any information in regards to this case, please call the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation at the number listed below.